All right, hey folks, welcome to the runningrestaurants.com podcast. We're bringing you the tips, tools, and techniques you need to make your restaurant more profitable and successful. I'm your host, Jaime Oikle. Today, got a slightly different episode for you. Got David DeLorenzo back, a repeat guest, and David is the founder and owner of Bar and Restaurant Insurance. But we are not going to talk about insurance today. We are going to talk about David's new book, Just Getting Started. This is excellent, and about his podcast and some stuff, and we may touch on restaurant insurance as well. But Dilo, you wrote a book, man. How'd that go? What's up?
Yeah, look, I just turned 51 last week, and part of the antithesis for getting older was like, okay, let's do a few things that I've yet to do, and so. Putting together a book was one of those things. When I was 48, I was out of shape and not feeling my best. And I was like, okay, how can I live the ultimate life to where I'm feeling great? I can be there for my family. I can be there for my clients. I can be there for my friends. And there was a book. It actually all started with a book. There was a book inside of this biohacking place, the cold plunge, the sauna, it's all those things that people are really getting into now. I happened to be at one of those places, and my friend handed me this book, and it was Ripped at 50 is the title of it. And there's this crazy dude on the front of it named Troy Casey. He's actually designated himself as the certified health nut. So I picked up that book and I read it, and I really enjoyed it. He had the 9 pillars of health in it. And this was during, I would say, right on the outset of COVID, still being a thing, but not quite being a thing. We're all kind of trying to get back into our normal lives, whatever that means. And I was following him on social media. I was like, oh, this guy's interesting. So he was living up in Sedona. I'm down in Phoenix. Sedona's about an hour and 40 minutes from here. And he was living up in Sedona at the time. And I started following him on social media. I reached out to him. And next thing I know, about a year later, we just become really good friends. And so he's down here in Scottsdale, now 3 miles from my office where I'm inside right now. And I'll see him every morning at Whole Foods. We'll go over there and we'll grab coffee and we'll talk lifestyle, this and that. And he's done a lot of, so I have a charity called Healing Hospitality, which is to give back to the hospitality community with health and wellness, because I'm a huge advocate in mental health, physical health, all those sorts of things that I feel the hospitality folks don't get enough of because they're so busy just working their butts off. And I think it's something that sometimes get bypassed. I think a lot of times they get so lost in getting work done for everybody else that they, again, don't, necessarily take the time to take care of themselves. So he's come and he's done some Qigong in the park. It's like body movement stuff and just some really cool events. The reach around answer to get to my book was the fact that I was in, again, Whole Foods one morning, and he's like, Dilo, you should just write a book, now that you're 50. And so I pretty much copied what he did, but in my own words, in my own way. And so at 50, I just wanted to put a book out there of my thoughts, my feelings that had to do with the progression of life and just making sure that I could take care of myself in a better way.
Well, I will say a couple things. One, as you promised, he sent me a book, so I appreciate that. And it is a quick, breezy read for folks to read it. But you must have succeeded in his mission, because look on the back cover. This guy, I know he's been into health before, but you did. You got very fit. Don't you make the claim, best shape of your life? I mean, you nailed it, right? Keeping it up.
Yeah, I absolutely did. I actually did a couple of bodybuilding shows as well, where I got that really horrible smelling spray tan, and I wore board shorts. But here's the thing: is like a lot of people obviously are hospitality based folks that listen to your podcast, and with a true understanding, yes, I sell insurance, but yes, I've owned 13 restaurants, and yes, I sell insurance exclusively to the hospitality community. So that being said, I had many of years, let's just say decades, of drinking too much, eating out every night because I wanted to be there, in that sense for my clients, for openings, for this and that. I've come to a point in my life at 51 now where I've just become so established that it's more important for me to really just kind of monitor those events and do them every once in a while, as opposed to doing it every night, because it will take a toll on your body. No matter if you can't regulate what you're putting in your body or how you're doing it and the amount of sleep that you're getting, the amount of stress that you're putting on yourself, then you're just not going to be that good for everybody else around your life. And even if you own a restaurant or you're in the restaurant business and you're trying to provide, great food and service and all this stuff, it's really easy to partake in all those things every day. But if you can pull yourself back from it a little bit, and I know a lot of brewery guys now, when I say a lot, 2 or 3 that have come to me that have quit drinking. Now, it doesn't mean that they can't run a brewery and they can't produce great beer, but they've been doing it long enough, and they had to pull away from the alcohol position to make sure that they, were able to not feel so inflamed, and to, actually be even more productive at their latter years in life. So that's just one perspective that I've had to, take as I get, further into my career.
Yeah, and I know part of your journey is being sober for 10 plus years now, or something along those lines. Yeah,
yeah,
and
11 in June. So
yeah, and the industry, congrats for that. In the industry, you can easily get bogged down in that way, and it brings me. I want to go right to the part of your book where we talk about your schedule, the day, like creating the day. And we talked before we started recording. You were in bed by 7:30 your time, so you can get up at 4 o'clock your time. How that's hard to do. A lot. I know that's a very productive schedule for the body, but it's hard to do. How did you get there? Tell me more about the belief of that, because it is a big part of starting your day right.
Yeah, I mean, that is the belief that works for me. That is it's a lot of trials and tribulations. It's a lot of, figuring stuff out. And what works for me is not going to necessarily work for you. It might work for them, it might work for you, but it may not work for you, if that makes any sense. And so we as individuals or people, we have to figure out within ourselves how we're built, like when we were born. I mean, I'm very much into all of this, let's just say mythological, how do they call it? Like astronomy, sort of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I really think that there's a reason why we're all shapes and sizes, and we all, do things certain ways. I believe there's hereditary traits that happen within us. And so what I had to do is figure out, okay, what sort of person am I? And what I mean by that is, I know I'm type A. I know I'm 100% on the gas when I'm on, but I also know I can get stressed very easily. And I know that when I'm tired. Like I have to let go, and I have to be able to rest. I was never able to do that before because I was so busy growing a business and being scared, having FOMO every time I wasn't at something or part of something or doing something. And all that was it was blockading my growth and my value that I could actually give. So as opposed to being 50% there, now I can be 100% there in the moment. I might have less quote unquote moments, but those moments are a lot more guaranteed to be, spectacular. I remember them. I'm a part of them. And the whole thing is, like, for me, mornings are my time. Like right now that you've got me on, my peak hour, it's 9:26 in Arizona, AM. I've been going since 4 a.m. and I do go to bed at 7:38 every night. And it's not hard for me to do that because I've created a system. I've created a way of life that just allows me to do that. And it's kind of funny how it's like, down with the sun and up with the sun sort of mentality. I'm actually, depending, because like winter times, it's a little tough, but I still get it done. And it's so important for me, and I think for others would agree, to really stay on that schedule. Now, I will have a couple nights a year because I'm a big music fan, and I grew up in the music business, and we talked about this, where I have to pick and choose. But I'll probably go to like 3 concerts a year, and that's like drinking again. It's absolutely brutal because I will, you're not getting home before midnight, right? And then I go rest my head, and it's so hard for me to even sleep in past 6 or 7 o'clock. I just can't do it. So I end up dragging the next day. But to your point, having these systems and new ways of life is really good for me.
Yeah, you feel it the next day for sure. Use the phrase FOMO, and it took me a second, but fear of missing out. I think that's what we were going for. Yeah. There's so many opportunities. You can't say yes to everything. You have to say no to stuff, but you feel like, oh, I'm going to miss out on that. So that is a challenge. And I'm glad you brought it up because I wanted to talk about music. I know you're a big music guy, and at the beginning of every chapter, there's a music lyric quote. So tell me about the part that music has played in your life, because I know you play the guitar, significant, right?
Yeah, look, music is, as they say, the soundtrack for life, right? When I was a young boy, And I didn't realize what my tastes were going to be. I was still, trying to discover myself and what it was that I liked and I did not like. My sister, who has passed, bless her soul, she got me into rock and roll music and bought me that AC/DC record. She was into Kiss, and I just really had taken to all that. And then I ended up buying an album called 1984 by Van Halen. Pretty popular, and
A little bit.
and they just ended up becoming my favorite band in the whole world. And so with that moment in my life, and I remember it like it was yesterday, I remember just laying in my bed, I was looking up at the ceiling and my walls, and I have posters of like all these 80s rock stars, because you're living, you're 9, 10, 11 years old, and you're fantasizing about being on stage or meeting these people or doing this sort of stuff. So I had a daydream that one day I would meet Eddie Van Halen. And what was so absolutely amazing about that was, not even about 10 years later, I ended up working for Warner Brother Records, and that dream comes true. I ended up working for Van Halen's, record with their third singer, Gary Sharon at the time, which everybody says is the worst record ever. But I had fun, so I get to meet, Eddie, and they say don't meet your quote unquote heroes. I was so glad to meet him. Nicest guy in the world. I had fun promoting that record and doing that. And ever since then, yes, music, has played a role in my life to where I really thought I was just going to work in the music business the rest of my life. I had opportunities to go work for many different labels. I did work for Madonna and for her record label. I worked for, like I had said, Warner Brothers, Elektra, Atlantic, all Columbia, Sony. And it just didn't resonate with me when the time came to move my career further. I didn't want to move from Arizona. I didn't want to be away from my family. So that's where I had to take rock and roll and, turn it into what was a gift for me here. And that was the insurance business. And so that's why I created bar and restaurant insurance, and just, the story goes, which we've told before.
Yeah, I do. I think one of our early episodes, you had some albums in the background, the classic
If you
memorabilia type stuff. There you go. Okay.
So there's me and my picture with Eddie Van Halen and Van Halen and all that, and a lot of gold and platinum records here. So I had a lot of fun in the business. There's my guitar.
Yeah, so we're just about the same age, and I clearly remember that Van Halen album. I have fond memories of that. I'm literally feeling third grade. I can picture my buddies. I can picture playing that Jump. That song just anyway. So, but you were deep inside the music industry, which is incredible and awesome. But let's go to something that I want to ask you about, because I see you're great about sharing on social. So if you're not following Delo, follow him on social. Shares good stories, shares personal stuff. But one of the things you share is kind of hiking and hobbies and getting away from work and stress and stuff. Tell me about that.
So, I always tell people, as you get older, your train ride gets shorter, right? So when you're in your 20s, your train ride's about this big. When you're in your 50s, your train ride's about this big. And we only have 24 hours in a day, supposedly. So, if you've had any, let's just say, luck in working hard and being established and finding your place at a latter part in life, I really think it is a priority for you to be able to enjoy things that maybe you didn't have time to do, or maybe you didn't take the time to do later because earlier because you were building a business. And so everybody's like, well, what do you want to sell your agency? Do you want to retire? And I sit here and I laugh and I'm like, retire? Like, I'm already retired. I'm doing everything that I want to do now.
Yeah.
Why would I wait till I'm 65 or 70 or whatever, and God willing that I get to that age, but why would I wait till then to not do the things that I love doing now? So what I do, and based on what you'd read in the book, is I implement a lot of habits and hobbies and things that I love to do. So guitar, I'm horrible at guitar. I've been playing since I was 12. I still am horrible, but I love it. It's an art. It's something that allows me to escape from all the other, phone calls and client bases and building, business building and all that sort of stuff, or any of my stresses in life. So for the last 5 years, I've had a 30-minute guitar lesson on Thursday at 3:30 with the same guitar teacher.
Oh, good for you.
it's a wonderful thing. I mean, things as simple as walking the dog. A lot of times people don't even see that as necessarily A, exercise, or B, therapy for both you and the dog. It's one of my favorite things to do. Every single morning we'll walk 2 to 4 miles, but like you had made mention to, hiking. I have a mountain in my front yard. I'll put on a little weighted vest and I'll just go up in the mountains, and I'll either go in silence, I'll listen to some old 80s rock music to reminisce, or I'll listen to a podcast. But again, I'm enjoying that hour out into the the quote unquote wilderness, which is actually in the middle of the city, but it happens to be, and that's why Kim and I bought our house, because we were so close to the hiking trails. And the thing is we all have the opportunity and the ability to plan our lives, if we're lucky enough, around the things and the hobbies that we love to do. And there's no reason why you can't do that and implement a little bit of that in each part of your day.
And you have to schedule it, for lack of a better word. You can't just let your day go, because it will take control of you. But if you plug it in there, like you've plugged in your guitar lesson, that thing happens.
Yeah,
it happens because you scheduled it. Yeah.
Google Calendar is the best, right? I mean, even when I want to go do a cold plunge, I schedule it. It's in my calendar. You have to set appointments, and you have to take your appointments as serious as you take the ones that you're going on for a client or family or anything else.
Yeah, and it's easy to push them aside, especially in the restaurant and hospitality business. All right, let's go to pets, because we're there. Where you just brought us there before we got on. Guess what happened? Not in addition to the 2 dogs you already have, you got a puppy, and you go for walks. So let's add another level of craziness to life with a little puppy. Tell me about it.
Yeah, if you get a chance, go on my Instagram. You can see me and the puppy and I, having a lot of fun. Puppies, as I had stated on my last reel, puppies exercise what's called patience. And I know a lot of times as we get older and crankier, we have a lot less of that patience. Maybe some of us have more. I don't know. I'm a type A, go. So my patience level is very short at times, but the meditation is helping. So we went and got a puppy from, the same place that we had gotten our original 2 dogs 9 and 10 years ago. And we just wanted to bring them a little bit of zest in life, which I think they're both looking at me now going, Dad, why did you do this? Like, this thing is all over us, biting us, driving us crazy. But, it's a really beautiful thing to watch. Let's just say the hierarchy of, how the family process works. And it's nice for them to be able to go find their places, to find the love with each other. Animals are very, very interesting creatures. If you really take the time to watch and to listen and to notice the different types of habits and things that they like to do and how they react to, certain situations. It's been a very good learning experience. And to have 3 dogs as opposed to 2, it's certainly different, but it's not bad. So.
Yeah, there's a chapter in the book towards the end about pets and what they bring to, and when they bring to your life. And I'll echo that. We haven't had pets in our house in a while, but when we did, we've had 2 dogs at one point, 3 dogs at one point. I grew up with cats, and they just bring a different level of freedom and joy to you. My sister, my twin sister, who's a big horse person and like really into the spiritual side, you guys would probably get along on this regard. Like, she communicates and talks to the horses and really feels them and gets a lot of energy from them. And apparently horses do have that knack. And I feel dogs do to some point as well, but I think horses have a kind of a special ability to connect with folks. And she fully believes that, and so forth. But you mentioned meditation and yoga and getting away from your stuff. How do you use that as a reset?
So calming the mind for me, it can come in many forms. Again, it can be listening to old 80s music. It just helps me calm myself and put myself back into a place that brings me joy and love. And not everybody's going to have that same instance, but in my instance, that, the 80s and growing up as a kid and watching Top Gun and Rocky and all that stuff and listening to those old soundtracks and going back to when you were there, think about it. We're still that same human being. We've just gone through a multitude of days, minutes, years, and different aspects of life come to us, different priorities. But it doesn't mean that we can't be within that inner child again and really enjoy that time when we didn't have all those responsibilities and be free. For me, I take all that in a meditative way and I compartmentalize it to be like, okay, just want to calm myself now, get out of the today and go back into yesterday, understanding that, it's going to help give me a better tomorrow. And so I enjoy, that. I enjoy sitting in silence. I enjoy climbing, a mountain somewhere and just sitting there and closing my eyes and just noticing everything down below and around me. And again, even if you're so busy and you're working so much, just to take 10 minutes to just, put yourself, vertical for a little bit, or horizontal, I think it is, horizontal, it can make so much of a difference I know it has in my life. So meditation's, again, when people hear the word meditation, they think, a lot of them will think it's all the way over here, hoodoo, guru or stuff. But to me, meditation is just a moment of silence, really.
Yeah. And I remember from the chapter where you talked about it, there's apps that can really help you. You can plug into, I might get it wrong, but Headspace and Calm, things like that, you probably 5 minutes, 10 minutes, just get away, calm down. They'll bring you through an exercise. Is it as simple as that?
It's as simple as, you can go on YouTube, just go on YouTube. There's I think there's a higher frequency one that I read. And if you listen to tones and beats and music and different frequencies that you're not used to hearing just in everyday life, it'll actually subliminally put you into a zone of calmness and really help regulate your immune system and everything. And it's amazing. I just highly suggest trying it.
Another piece of maybe you've always done this, but nutrition and eating differently and healthy, and it affects the body and inflammation. And my wife has gone completely plant-based diet, and she's been very happy with that. She's tried to drag me along. I'm a reluctant person and so forth. But where has nutrition been for you, and how have you seen the changes?
Yeah, nutrition, just like, getting rid of stress, nutrition is medicine, and again, going back to the hospitality industry, you have a lot of great people doing great things, making things taste great. And unfortunately, when it comes to trying to be as healthy as possible, eating things that taste great aren't necessarily great for you. Now, in moderation, right? So I'm in a protocol now where, during the week, I eat the same thing every single day. I might as well just be a dog. And I know the reason why I do this is because I know how I'm going to feel. I know how I'm going to react. I know what my productivity levels are. I know what my inflammation levels, my energy, all that sort of stuff. So when you find that, I would strongly suggest sticking with that if you can. I get it. There's going to be days where you're going to need to go to dinner with, a client or with family or this and that. Again, that comes down to just doing the best that you can to make wise choices. Like tonight, I have to go out with a company for dinner. Well, it's at a steakhouse. So I'm just going to get a steak that's grilled and a side of vegetables. Not a big deal. I'm going to survive. Would I rather make a steak at home? And yeah, of course, because I know where the meat comes from and what happens. But I also have what I call fatter day now. So when I was 164 pounds, I'm now I hold that at about 143 average. I lost 20 pounds. I went from 20% body fat down to 9% body fat, which I hold now. Wow. And I was very strict for about a year, just doing, I didn't even go out to eat. I didn't stray, nothing. Now I'm at a point of holding and being good and relaxing. My body knows how to react. So now I have what's called fatter day. And it's Saturday where I go and I eat any and everything that I want. We'll go out to eat. If I want to have muffins or cakes or donut or all that sort of stuff. What I am discovering by fatter day is that I'm about, 10 of them in. They're getting less and less. Even when I get there, I'm not craving as much crap to put in my body, because it really does make me feel like crap because I'm so used to eating, healthy. So yesterday was my day, my day after fatter day. And I was just going right back to basics, and to have like I had a big bucket of vegetables with, avocado made into guacamole and some mustard. That was my lunch. I mean, it was like, I was in heaven. Striving for the pizza. And again, there's a time and place for all that stuff. And I don't think that we should go, missing all of that or not being able to go out and enjoy a fun meal with family sometimes. But for me, it's just about regulation.
Yeah, it's so funny. You hit exactly like how my wife would talk about it. She's gotten away from it. I think she's sneaking up on a year, wholly food, plant-based food. And when she has regular food or junk food, she's like, wow, and it affects her body the next day, and then she wants to get right back on her food train, and it works for her, and it really can give you energy levels and things like that. So if you're struggling with nutrition, start small. I don't know what the tips are. Start small. Start in an area. Notice the difference. Do you uh, track it? Do you journal it?
Yeah.
Is that how you kind of find out what works?
I tracked religiously for a year and a half. I have an Excel spreadsheet. I hired a coach. I have like 3 coaches myself.
Yeah, I want to talk about that in a second. Yeah.
Yeah. So he created an Excel spreadsheet that, again, I put all the foods in there. I counted what's called your macros. Your macros are going to be your macronutrients, which will be your fats, your carbs, and your proteins. And then he has it listed, how many per day and how many calories per day you can have. And it's really, I mean, at the end of the day, it's not rocket science. It's math. It's math. That's all it is. If you eat this many calories and you're at this body weight, you're going to drop down to this amount of weight at this time. That's all it is, math. And so, by religiously doing that and understanding, it was perfect. I'll still like count out of curiosity every now and then in my app, but I don't really need to now because, again, I eat the same stuff. I know I'll still measure. Like I know I'm having 8 ounces of, bison, or I'm having 8 ounces of chicken. I don't count vegetables because that just doesn't, they don't add weight to you. It's just water weight at the end of the day. So I eat as much. Now fruits I do count because those are heavy in carbs and natural sugar or whatever. But like cauliflower rice and Brussels sprouts, salads, tomatoes, cucumbers, jicama. The jicama is like a godsend. It's I would take it. Jicama is a big bulb. It's like a bulbous root that I would put in a mandolin, and I'd cut thin slices out of it, and then I'd put it in a air dryer, a humidifier or whatever, or not a humidifier, but what I'm talking, where they suck all the liquid out and actually make chips out of them. It's really good. So you can get really creative with stuff that would have no adverse effect on your body, and you could really enjoy it.
Yeah. Oh, good. Some good tips there. Appreciate that, sir. Mentorship, coaching. It's in here. It's in the book. I know you do it personally, and two things. You have coaching yourself, and you do coaching for other folks. Touch on any piece of that you wish. I'm curious.
Yeah, as much of a loner as I am, and somebody that's very individualized and probably off the cuff, like I'm not your normal insurance agent. I'm one of those types of people that, let's just say, the mainstream men and women, they don't necessarily understand. And, that's because it's a very much traditional suit and tie industry and do this sort of thing. So I've always had to beat at my own drum. Now, that being said, I do find a lot in having somebody there to talk to, and whether you call it therapy, coaching, mentoring, whatever that is, it's always helped me throughout my whole life. It's great when you're running a few businesses to have somebody to talk to bounce ideas off of, to make sure that you're not crazy, and to learn from. And I've learned from a lot of amazing people that have helped me get to where I am now. And that's everything through spirituality, through fitness and movement. So I have a calisthenics coach right now because I feel body movement at this age is the most important thing. Like if you're not moving, you're dead, right? And to be able to be flexible and to do things, I can do things now with my body that I could never do when I was younger because I never practiced and I never paid attention to it. I took it for granted. I have a fitness coach. I have actually 2 fitness coaches, and I have a business coach. So that's 4 coaches right there. In the streams of doing all this, one of my friends, Jeremy Scott, who's big in the fitness world, but he's also a very smart entrepreneur. We started what's called the Built Different Mastermind. Okay. And we both wanted to do that on the aspect to be able to help a lot of other people, on a bigger scale. So we have builtdifferentmastermind.com. It's a free community for people to come in and join and just get tools of the trade of what I've used and what I've done. Yes, there are other, paid options in there. There's some exclusive group options, but, at the end of the day, if you just want to get into the group and talk to a few other like-minded people that are looking to let's just say, live the life that they really want to live and not live a life that they don't want to live, that's what we're preaching. That's what we're putting together. And as I leave a legacy in my life, as I get older, I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can because it makes me feel good to be able to help as many, other people as possible.
Yeah. Question for you. Do you have any tips for folks that are in the restaurant business? And you can phrase this in a couple ways. It could be a restaurant owner who feels like they're on their own and so forth, or it could be a younger worker who's on their way up. So, two questions. One, how does a younger person ask a mentor, tap a mentor, create a relationship where they may feel intimidated to do so? And then, like, secondarily, I'm curious, like, how can a restaurant owner who either thinks they know it all or they're too busy to get a coach, how can both of those folks get helped?
Yeah, for the younger person, it comes to an understanding that which I had to go through when I was younger, and I was talking to all these artists, these multi-million-dollar artists,
Yeah.
Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, Eddie Van Halen. I had to do some therapy on myself where I had to realize that these are all human beings. So
Mm.
if you're younger, you're in the restaurant industry, you're starting your business, you want to go talk to somebody that's really successful or doing this or that in the industry, you have to just make sure that you understand that they're just human beings. And for the most part, people with experience, and if they're kind and they do want to give back, they're going to be more than happy to help you. If
Yeah.
they don't, then you just have to realize that that's not a person that's going to resonate with you, and that's okay as well. I think we live so far into our head thinking that,
Sure.
thinking of the outcome before it happens, that we never even get an opportunity to find something that could be absolutely wonderful. And if you're already in the business and you already and say you have imposter syndrome, that's a big one, where everybody's like scared that they're not doing it right, or that or they don't think that they know as much as they actually do know. Here's the thing, like, if you've had any experience in life and you've been here for a while and you've been working and you've been doing the things, you have the experience, you have the ability to help others, you have the ability to bring others in, to coordinate those efforts to create a greater community around you. You just have to let go of those blockades of thinking, that you don't, because maybe you haven't, quote unquote, gotten to where you feel you need to be at in your career, both monetarily or just even time wise. So.
Yeah, very, very well said, Dave, D'Lo. You get around so much. Like, every time I talk to him, he's doing so many things. I don't know how you keep it up, but other stuff you do. You speak locally. You got the charity, the foundation stuff, as well as the business. What have we not touched on? I know you have a tech startup helping folks. What else you want to hit on as we head towards wrapping?
Well, I finally hired, best purchase of my life is I hired how do I say, a manager.
There you go.
Her name's Alexandra, and she's absolutely amazing. She's coordinating and organizing any and everything that I'm able to do. So now I can just do 100%, pretty close to 100%, all the things that I love. And that's doing stuff like this. That's being able to talk to people. That's being able to put stuff out there, go to meetings, create businesses. I get jazzed on that. That's what gives me life, and it gives me that persona. Again, retirement's not even in the question. Like, I get knocks on the door all the time because we've built one of the biggest and most successful hospitality agencies in Arizona, if not the nation. And people want me to come work for them. That's great. But why would I do that? I'm not done, working for myself ever or whatever. And for me to be able to do all that stuff, it really comes down to the team that I have around me. And so not just Alexandra, but my whole team here at Bar Restaurant Insurance. I've got the most amazing group of people whose tenure is everywhere from 25 years to
Wow.
12 years, 13 years, 11 years, 14 years. They've all been with me forever because I truly believe that if you let somebody just do their job, you give them the opportunity to make their own mistakes and to treat the business like their own, then it's just going to build more character with them and more longevity, and you give them the tools that they need. And so it's very important for me to, and I don't want to say overpay, because I believe everybody's worth all of their pay here. I'm just saying that industry standards, I'm above and beyond, and that's on purpose. And also, benefits and health, all these things that I don't want them to have to worry about. You want to work from home 3 days a week? Cool. And this may sound very odd to a lot of people, and it's obviously not anything you can do in the restaurant business because you're always there and you need people physically there to work.
Yep.
But in my career, I've been able to let go so much that I don't even, there's some employees I don't talk for weeks at a time. And I don't need to. The only time I would need to is if somebody's calling me saying, hey, so-and-so is not getting back to me. That just doesn't happen here. And that's allowed me to be able to do all these other greater things that I'm able to do now.
Love it, man. Speaking of other things you love to do, we got the graphic down there on the D-Lo podcast. Weekly, right? Or so?
Yeah.
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 You have fun with that.
I do. I just released one. Actually, my last week was on dogs, and I just released
Ah.
one today. So every Monday I'm releasing one. I just released one today on reflections of 50, because now I'm 51. So and you know, I talk a lot of different stuff. Sometimes I'll have restaurant guests on.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll talk about, let's just say, my days in, you know, the alcohol world and what I was like and what I did. Some days I'll have Jeremy Scott on. We'll talk about business. So it's any and everything that I want to do, and it's a fun thing. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So yeah, folks, check that out. It's easily found on all the podcast platforms. The book is on Amazon as well. Let's not be remiss. You got to slide over a little bit. Let's say hi to Yoda there. We were remiss in not saying hi to the guy all show. Yeah, D-Lo is a gigantic Star Wars fan. I think didn't you offload a bunch of your memorabilia? Was that hard?
Yeah. No, because it was just stuff, you know, the stuff that I really wanted to keep, I did. And again, I think that as you go through your timeline in life and you realize that you can't take any of this stuff with you, at least not that I'm aware of. So I want other people to be able to, you know, enjoy the stuff that I'm pretty much done with.
Yeah. Do you want to try the line, which everybody knows, but but you highlighted it in the book too, Yoda's famous line about, hey, I'm going to try to do something today, David. What would you say?
What would you say, Yoda?
Do or do not. There is no try.
There you
go. Well done. Exactly. All right. So bar and restaurantinsurance.com. The book is on Amazon. I am D-Lo. IamDelo.com gets you all the links as well. Did I miss anything?
No. On the D-Lo podcast, there's me without a beard. This should be shaved here pretty close to summertime.
Excellent. Well, we hit a lot, man. Appreciate you as always. Folks, David DeLorenzo, Barn Restaurant Insurance. Find him on the web, barnrestaurantinsurance.com. D-Lo's content is IamTheDelo.com. The podcast, again, is at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and elsewhere. For more great restaurant marketing, service, people tips, tech tips, and more, stay tuned to us here at runningrestaurants.com. In the meantime, do a big favor. If you can rate it or review it or share it with folks wherever you watch or listen, that is super helpful, and we appreciate it. D-Lo, thanks, man. Always good. We'll catch you.
Thank you for having me.